Okay, we're live.
Make sure you tell people to like the Facebook.
Oh, okay. Are we live? Are we live right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Do You Believe? And Tim's not with me tonight, but I have Tim on the phone. And you know, if you guys would, we'd really appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel, and if you would give us a like, we'd really appreciate that. And I'm kind of feeling lonely without Tim tonight. I'm so used to being here, having you here, Tim. Tim's on the phone with me. Hi, Tim. Hey, okay, now we're going to start the show off tonight. I have a fabulous guest tonight, and we are going to talk about nightmares and dreams and Elm Street and all that. But, you know, last Saturday, Tim and I had an ITC session. And with that, and you know, actually, Tim, what's the, can you type in the you know, the login for YouTube? This ITC session that we had, Tim was asking if there was any natural disasters that were going to happen. And those that are in chat were probably with us as well last Saturday. And we heard, what did we hear, Tim? The Tuesday? Yeah, even though it was in Missouri, it didn't make any difference. It said Kansas, and I heard that right away, and I did say that on the video.
Yeah,
Kansas.
It's pretty crazy. So you know, we would really appreciate it if the people that were there in chat that watched the live show, if they could just go onto the YouTube video and just say, hey, you know, that we didn't doctor this, that you guys were there, because we need your help to kind of help validate this session for us. So any support that you guys could give would be great.
Did you want me to play that audio?
Yeah, and then we can also talk about the one really quickly that the other video I just posted up today too, which was the audio from that session as well.
All right, well, let's see. I have it on the desktop, Tim, so I'm sure they'll be able to hear this. So just a second.
Great.
All right, okay, I'm going to play it. I like that music.
That's pretty good.
Can they all hear that, Tim?
Yeah, I think so.
They can't hear it?
They can. Yes. Be quiet because your audio's off.
When's the next natural disaster going to occur? Soon? Yes, it's soon. Where? Tuesday? Where? When's the next natural disaster going to occur? Soon? Yes, it's soon. Where? Tuesday? Where?
Okay, Tim?
Yeah, so one thing that I think is really cool about this video is a lot of the skeptics will say, oh, it's audio pareidolia, but Ronee Hurd it, say Kansas. It's not like we, like right at that time, so it's not like Ronee, it took us like a day or two to review the evidence, or like, oh, this sounds like Kansas.
Right.
No, Ronee heard it at the time, so she definitely really what happened on Tuesday.
Exactly, and I'm really glad I said that out loud.
Yeah.
Because that just proves you're absolutely right. So maybe we should be doing that from now on. If we do hear that, you know, we say it.
Yeah, and it was also cool that, you know, I heard soon and Tuesday, so he put all that together, all those pieces of the puzzle. And yeah, it was pretty cool to get that.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of people are asking me, well, who do you think said it and stuff? I don't know, but, you know, according to what we were picking up all throughout that night, it sounded like it was the demon Belazebub.
Yes. We've had some awesome sessions, Tim. I mean, some really freaky, scary sessions.
Yeah, it's great, you know. It's fantastic. So we're going to keep doing them.
Oh, yeah. And they were asking earlier if we were doing ITC on Saturday, so I'm not sure yet about that.
Yeah, but there's also, you guys, the video, there's 2 videos up. One I posted today, which has all the really dark, negative stuff up on the YouTube channel, and then there's the gas explosion. So you guys, you know, just check it out. Tell me what you think. It'd be great. Yeah, I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll do more, as Sheila, the moderator, says.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, you know, it's very exciting, and, yeah, we'll be doing some more ITC shows very soon.
Yeah. Oh, I love those. Absolutely love them. Okay, Tim, anything else you want to say?
No, I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat room, and we really appreciate all the interaction you guys are, you know, giving us on the YouTube channels and in the forums and stuff. So it's been a fun week.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys, for all that. So.
And thank you also, everybody, for coming to the shows.
Yeah,
because,
thank you guys for coming to the shows, and yeah, you guys, we'll hopefully see you guys on Saturday. It's going to be a great show, and you know, it'll be a good time. Game winter. So,
yeah.
That's good stuff.
Okay. Okay, Tim. Well, I miss you tonight.
All right, bye.
I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Tim.
All right, thanks.
Bye. Okay, so if you guys just bear with me for a minute, I'm going to get a hold of the guest tonight. So just hold on while I call him, okay? I'll be right back. Hi, everyone. I'm back with my guest tonight, his name is Ryan Hurd, and he is author of Lucid Dreams. And Ryan, thank you so much for coming to the show tonight. I'm so excited to have you.
Oh, I'm good. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And Ryan, would you please tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I think most people know me through my blog. I'm the founder of dreamstudies.org, which is a website I've been running for about almost 6 years. It's dedicated to sleep, dreams, and consciousness research, and quite a bit about lucid dreams and nightmares as well. I also write for Reality Sandwich and occasionally Business Insider, and I'm an author of 2 books. One of them is in print, and that's my book on sleep paralysis. and that's Sleep Paralysis, A Guide to Hypnagogic Visions and Visitors of the Night. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about that some tonight. And the other book is an ebook that you can find on Amazon, which is the Lucid Immersion Guidebook, which is a holistic blueprint for lucid dreaming. And so, that's sort of the material I put out. I consider myself a dream educator and a dream researcher, and I've lectured at a lot of places, a wide range of audiences, including Stanford and a couple places like the Institute of Buddhist Studies and Ryan Institute in Durham, which your listeners might know from all their pioneering research into the paranormal. So I'm living in Philadelphia right now and getting involved with doing local dream workshops and keeping up with the blog. And I should mention I'm also writing these days for the Teeming Brain, which is the teemingbrain.com, which they focus on supernatural, horror, spirituality, and creativity. A really fun, intellectual, heady brew for sure. About,
that's up our alley.
Come together.
Yeah, well, we love that. And Ryan was so kind. Ryan, when I sent Ryan a message to come on the show, he said, and I asked him to talk about the dark side, and he said, "Oh, well, I usually hold back on that." And I said, "Well, not for this show, you won't." So let's start, Ryan, with the dark side. I just, that movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, could that really happen?
Yeah, I think it happens every night. I mean, my gosh, actually, I've been telling people for a while that I think I accidentally, unconsciously patterned my life after Nightmare on Elm Street, particularly Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And I don't know, I mean, we're going way back, but that's the one, I think it's really one in the franchise, it's my favorite, but that's the one where the protagonist is a young researcher named Kristen. She's a psychologist, and she, wants to help people with their nightmares. And of course, she gets trapped in Freddy's world, which is a lucid nightmare world. And it's actually kind of close to my own story because even as a teenager and up through young adulthood, I suffered a lot through nightmares, and these were nightmares just like in Nightmare on Elm Street. I knew I was dreaming, but I couldn't get out of the dream. I couldn't wake myself up. I didn't have control. I experienced a lot of terrible things and had a really bad time with it. And at the same time, I've come to see the long view that those nightmares were absolutely some of the most exciting, powerful, and creative moments in my life. And trying to hold that dark, creative balance, I think, is something that I really always like to teach people. Is just like it's whatever is scary in the moment, that's good. You want to stick with that.
Really? Now, the scary dreams that everybody has with the hoodie people and all that, is that all part of what they call lucid dreaming?
Lucid dreaming is self-awareness in the dream, right? So it's that's like the classic definition. So it's the experience of you're in the dream and you realize you're dreaming. You say, "Oh my gosh, this is a dream. Everything around me is from my own mind." And then what you do from that moment is totally up to you. Some people, immediately try to fly or have lucid dream sex. All this is possible. And some people meditate in the dream. I mean, it really is kind of up to the individual's sort of own, interests and passions of what they do with that. But the nightmarish aspect of lucid dreaming is that they're still dreams. And this is the thing about dreams, is that from the get-go, dreams are dark. I mean, it's weird, actually, when you think about it, because, the media, I guess, or the way the dreams are depicted kind of in pop culture is that they're light and fluffy and all about bunnies and rainbows, but it's exactly the opposite. If you actually look scientifically, like do a word count analysis of any collection of dream reports that researchers use, you'll see that negative emotions, negative words outnumber positive ones pretty much 3 to 1. It's basically we're neurologically primed to experience negative emotions in the dream state. And I think this might be some kind of evolutionary thing. Basically, we're actually running through negative emotions on purpose to kind of process what's happened to us and make sense of that.
Well, what is this old hag? What is that all about? The old hag? Is the old hag?
So the old hag is it's a cultural term for something that's completely cross-cultural, which is the succubus experience or the sleep paralysis nightmare. The old hag is used primarily in the UK and also in parts of Canada, like Newfoundland. The experience is really, really creepy, and I feel that it's probably one of the sources for true ghost stories. Where they don't occur in a dream, but they actually occur in a vision state that happens in the middle of the night. And in the vision state, essentially, you wake up or you're going to sleep, and you realize that you're paralyzed, and that's the experience of sleep paralysis. But what the old hag is a hallucination that happens on top of that, in which you're paralyzed. You can actually look around your room, you see your surroundings, and then there's a palpable entity in the room. You feel a sense of a presence or something that's definitely not you. This can sometimes, get really terrifying, in which you actually see an entity approach you, sit on the side of your bed, and then in its full-blown cases, which happen, very few people have these, but they're extraordinarily intense, and you remember them for a lifetime, in which whoever the shadow figure is that comes into the room can molest you, they can sexually molest you, they can just basically drool on you with their nasty, horrid hag breath. And and the hag is just one of the kind of classic manifestations of the shadow figure, which would be kind of like an old gnarly woman. And this is from a masculine perspective, sort of like, this is not what you want on top of you. It's like,
well, what about if? Oh, how long does it typically last for?
Well, sleep paralysis, it ranges quite a lot. I think typically is under a minute. It can range for people who don't have it often. It can be between 2 to 5 minutes, but it can stretch out into longer periods for people who suffer from narcolepsy or other kinds of sleep disorders, such as sleep apnea, in which they basically kind of get stuck in this paralysis state, and it can last reportedly off and on for hours. And so, there's a lot of people with narcolepsy that suffer with this. And in fact, I think the biggest group of people that have sleep paralysis, and then these hallucinations on top of it. But it can happen to people if you don't have sleep disorders too, and that's what I think is really interesting. Is that just things like anxiety, life stress, too much caffeine, too much physical exertion before bed, all these things. If you're already kind of genetically or whatever prone for light sleep and this kind of thing, those are the triggers that can make it happen. And that's my case. I've had sleep paralysis off and on since I was 14, and it just comes, for me, it comes sporadically. And whenever it comes, it's kind of like a red flag that I need to sort of chill out on the coffee and maybe do a little more meditation and some more deep breathing and kind of like find myself, because it's an indication that I'm stressed.
Now, what about people that see these at the end of their bed? They'll see a dark figure, and they'll dream about that. And actually, it's not even a dream. I mean, they're saying they actually see these dark figures at the end of their bed.
Absolutely, it's not a dream, and I can't be more emphatic about that. People who haven't had the experience will say, "Oh, you were dreaming." Well, neurologically, it is a dream. I mean, we've seen the lab studies of this. It's basically REM projected into waking life. It's a hybrid vision state in which you're dreaming your eyes open. That does not, however, explain why so many people see shadow figures, why they see dark entities, and why the entities have such a similar kind of, shape and feel, even though there are cultural differences. Then that could be possibly, there could be, scientific explanations for that too. I'm not saying that there's not, but it's important to not just say, oh, it's REM, therefore it's a dream, therefore it's meaningless, right? These things have psychological importance and I would say spiritual, significance as well. People see shadow people. People have demon experiences and angels. This happens in modern life. It's why we're never going to get away from these things. Dawkins says why religion won't go away. It's because we're irrational. No, the reason why it won't go away is because people actually experience demons.
These
it's a very real. This is the thing: is you are in your you're in your right mind, so to speak. You're rationally coherent. You're saying, I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm awake, and yet there is a creature with long fangs trying to stick its proboscis into me right now. What's going on? It's quite creepy.
So Ryan, when people see these, and I know somebody who is still seeing a dark figure at the end of their bed, they're really dreaming it. They're not really seeing it.
Well, I would say it's somewhere in between. I would call it a vision. And when you call something a vision versus a hallucination, because the word hallucination demeans the experience. But if you call it a vision state, I think that puts it back in its rightful place. It's an experience happening in non-ordinary reality. I mean, if somebody else was in the room with you, they would not see that figure at the foot of your bed.
Probably.
This happens all the times with couples, right, who sleep together, and one of them has a sleep paralysis experience, and the other person watches them be paralyzed, and then the person wakes up and he says, there was this person, da-da-da-da-da. This is something that's happening inside our mind, yet it's happening it's taking in information from consensual reality. It's a vision, and these figures can be extraordinarily scary, but they also hold a lot of promise. They can impart information to you. They can.
Can you talk to this? Can you talk to this vision?
Yeah, people have conversations with them. In fact, that's kind of a nice way to de-escalate your fear. One of the things about the old hag syndrome in general is that the sense of fear is extraordinarily intense. It has to do with just the kind of the parts of the brain that are wiring and firing at that time. But if you know how to center yourself, if you can do some breathing exercises or have an affirmation or a way to ground yourself and have compassion for not only yourself but for the dark entity in front of you, which is a very hard thing to do, but to actually have a sense of acceptance in front of the despised.
Ryan.
Figures they're shapeshifters. They will transform. They can transform into positive figures of light. They can transform into ancestors. They can transform into historical figures that are associated with that place. I mean, some people talk about learning of information that they later verified that came through an entity. This is hypnagogy and psychic things are very crossly linked.
So this entity, they could speak to it and it will talk back to them?
Sometimes it kind of depends on why it's there and why it came to you. And there's really not a pat how-to guide of dealing with night visitors. In my book, In Sleep Paralysis, I discuss strategies and whatnot. But essentially, the most important thing is if you really feel like your boundaries are being not respected, you can wake yourself out of the vision, because it is a dream state, and there are methods of waking yourself up.
Now, what about if you dream that you die? Can that cause your death?
Oh gosh, no. I mean, if that was true, how would we know?
Oh, that's true.
How would the story ever came to us, right?
But I always heard that if you dream that you die, that you will die.
Oh, it's just no. It's an old old wives' tale. I've personally killed myself in dreams probably over 100 times.
Oh my God. Okay.
And this was something that I was experimenting with a lot like 15 years ago when I was like in my early 20s. I was really just interested in pushing the envelope of what was possible in dreams, and it's very easy to kill yourself in a dream, and often if you do it, you'll just wake up. But sometimes what will happen is that there'll be a flash or something, and you'll lose your vision primarily, and you'll lose your dream body. Your dream ego is always, usually anyway, in a perceived sense of self, a dream body. So that can scatter, and you can enter what's sometimes known as the void, or the lucid void, or the space between dreams. And that's a very interesting place where a lot of things can happen. But generally, the dream will come back, and you'll take a new shape, or a new scene will emerge. But no, dying in a dream is not something to be feared. In fact, when it happens in a non-lucid dream, it actually can have positive significance. I mean, because, they say basically that death is rebirth. And, what is dying is a sense of a particular crystallization of your ego self. Whatever happens to be in relationship with what is killing you right then, it's very much, it has nothing to do with your actual corporeal, your physical sense at all. You're very safe in the REM state. You're not going to kill yourself.
Okay, now what about people that dream that they stay at a haunted hotel, and they wake up in the middle of the night, and they say that somebody was on top of them and they were choking them? Could that really happen? Or is that a dream?
It happens all the time, Ryan. I mean, that's just exactly it. We were talking about sleep paralysis. I think a lot of, in hypnagogic hallucinations, a lot of ghost encounters, I believe are actually hypnagogic visions. And one of these possible interpretations is that, that the entity is not from your psyche, right, but is from another space, and perhaps is inhabiting a physical locale. And it's easy to just brush that stuff off because it doesn't fit our paradigm. I mean, we don't have a scientific explanation for that, but so many people have accounts in which they experience a particular experience, and then they tell the story and they say, yes, people always have that particular experience when they're in that room or staying at this hotel, even if they never have heard it before. And so, and that's, I think that should perk up our ears in terms of like paranormal investigations of what's going on there. It really does open up a can of worms that I don't think that there's an explanation for, in terms of scientific materialism. But people really do experience it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I totally am open to that. I mean, and I don't think also, but it's important to say this doesn't mean necessarily that ghosts exist and are actually sitting in the room. There can be other explanations, such as that just the time-space continuum is very wonky, and things that exist and have existed and continue to exist, and the way that non-local consciousness works. I mean, who knows? You can really, there's lots of different kinds of models to talk about why these things happen.
Well, how far can they go with you? I mean, can they kill you?
Well, I mean, again, if that happened, we wouldn't know, unless that person were to come back as a ghost and tell a story to somebody that they were killed by a ghost. That's one of the limitations, and that's, I think, what we would call a mystery.
Okay, now what about people?
Can I tell you something really quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because this is, I think, the best evidence we have that ghosts dying in their sleep. Perfectly healthy men in their 30s who had not had, previous health conditions were being found dead and with their faces in a state of agony and with a look of terror on their faces. And at the same time, these men who had died their relatives were telling stories that that they were previously having experiences with old hags or monsters, or the ghost that pushes you down is the Cambodian translation of this experience, the nocturnal assault, the supernatural assault. And it was happening a lot. In fact, it happened so much that different kinds of medical organizations started forming conferences in the 80s trying to figure out what was going on. And what they determined is this, that these men who were dying had a very peculiar heart condition that is now called Brugada Syndrome. It's basically in which the heart has a weakness that remains hidden from all of their lives. Nobody knows that they have it. Mm-hmm. But under periods of extraordinary stress, like I'm talking like post-traumatic, stress syndrome levels of stress, death anxiety, the absolute horror of horrors. Under those moments, the heart stops.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And what was happening is that these men were, for cultural reasons and for societal reasons, were opened up to what they perceived as ghosts and demons from the spirit world that were attacking them. Now, you look into their culture, into their life way, and you begin to get the bigger picture of what was going on culturally, which is that this is an animistic culture. They are shamanistic. They are believers in the ancestors, and they have to perform rites and rituals to appease ancestors, both negative and positive. And these involve animal sacrifices often, just like usually like chickens and goats, right? This is pretty typical Malaysia kind of thing. So what was happening is that these people were coming over as refugees in the 80s, and they were having a lot of problems doing their sacrifices in modern apartments in California and Minnesota and other places. People were complaining about ritual killings happening next door. So a lot of them had to change their practices, but they carried a sense of unease because they knew that the ancestors weren't happy with them. And basically, by not doing the rites and rituals for their ancestors, the ancestors stopped protecting them, and the demons spilled in.
Oh.
The ancestors, in their worldview, hold the space and keep us safe. And when they lifted their veil of protection, all these earth spirits and underworld demons crept in the night and were throttling them and sexually molesting them, and then we have the actual deaths. And so this is what this is really complex information, right?
Wow.
So what Shelley Adler basically concluded is that we have a nocebo effect. It's the opposite of the placebo effect, in which you get better when you think about something that you think you're going to get better. We have a self-healing ability. Well, there's a nocebo effect, which is that if you have a negative expectation, then you can open yourself up to something that that if it linked with something physiological can cause actual bodily harm.
Wow. Oh my God.
That's my spiel.
Oh, okay.
This work is amazing. I really would recommend, if anyone is interested in her work, to check out her book on sleep paralysis. It actually came out the same year that my book did, and it's a really wonderful scholarly treatment of all the things that can happen. But that is her specialty, the Hmong culture of Cambodia.
Okay, so I want to go back to sleepwalking. What causes sleepwalking? And there's a two-part question to that. So first, what causes sleepwalking? And what age group usually does that?
Sleepwalking, Sleepwalking is, there's several different kinds of it, really. And so it depends. Classic sleepwalking is something that, kids do, right?
Right.
And, I used to sleepwalk as a kid. Most people hit puberty and it stops. And then occasionally you'll have adults that sleepwalk. And now that kind of sleepwalking is it's an arousal disorder. It happens in non-REM sleep, and they're basically just sort of in between waking and sleeping. And it's not too dangerous, unless they were to fall down the stairs and stuff like that. However, there's a lot of other kinds of sleepwalking that happen as REM behavior disorders during the dreaming sleep stage, and those can get really kind of scary and violent because these are cases where, and this is adults, this happens in which people are not paralyzed during their dream. So it's the opposite of sleep paralysis. This is where you're dreaming, but your body loses its paralysis, which is normal during the dream state, and so people act out their dreams.
What about killing people?
It's happened. There's several court cases of this. In fact, there was a case in Norway, I think, just a few years ago, in which it's terrible. This elderly couple, the man, I believe he suffocated his wife of 40 years next to him in bed because he thought in the dream that he was fighting off an intruder.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, so this thing happens, and what is interesting in the court case is that, he successfully argued that he had REM behavior disorder and that he was undiagnosed. And that's the thing, is that REM behavior, it doesn't start like that. It starts with you thrashing about, but then it tends to precipitate, and you just get more active, and eventually you're going to hurt yourself. I mean, I think something like 60% of REM behavior disorder cases end with you hurting yourself. I mean, the greatest danger is to yourself.
And also,
there's a movie, Sleepwalk with Me. Totally recommend it. The comedian, I forget his name, he talks about his experience where he goes through his whole realizing that he has this disorder, and I think the wake up call was when he ran and jumped through a window 2 stories up in a hotel.
oh my God. Oh my God.
Landed 2 stories down, and it just luckily was just bruised and a little bloody from the glass.
I know of
It can be treated. There are pharmaceutical treatments as well as other things you can do.
I know of a case also where a lady, an adult, was sleepwalking and she killed her cat, and she loved her cat dearly. Now, why would you? And then another case where a man killed his mother. So, and so if we go back to the cat, she loved her cat so much. Why would she kill it in her dream?
Right. Well, I mean, I think we have to go back to maybe our original, supposition about dreams in general, in which that they do have a lot of negativity, and fear and anxiety are some of the greatest things that we work through in our dreams. And it's and then it's just sort of unlucky for whoever happens to be in the house at the time when these disorders happen.
Oh.
There are other cases of sleepwalking where people don't do violent things at all, but instead there's for instance, there's sexsomnia, where people just are extraordinarily randy and they try to just have sex with whoever's next to them.
Oh my God.
They have absolutely no memory of it later.
Oh my God. Now.
Yeah, and then there's people who binge eat in their sleep. They go down to the kitchen and they absolutely eat everything that's in the refrigerator, and they go back to bed and they have no recollection that they did. And there's also people who tend to drive in their sleep.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, there's a lot of these things.
And that's amazing. How can you drive? Are they in an unconscious state, or are they in a conscious state? Because how the heck can you drive?
Well, they're not. Their eyes aren't closed. I mean, they're in a fugue. They're in a fugue state. It's basically where they're, you know, the way that the brain is closer to sleeping than awareness, but they're taking in information and their body's moving around, and so you just have a confusion of signals.
Huh.
Yeah, these things happen. They're actually surprisingly, they're common.
So but they normally wouldn't do this kind of a thing if they were actually conscious.
Right. I mean, yeah. In fact, yeah. One of the interesting things about spexomnia, for instance, is that people in that state, you know, are said to be, you know, really passionate and like not like themselves, you know, in waking life when they're making love, and it can be very confusing for their partners, who are like, well, you know, you're actually really good in bed when you're asleep, but you don't remember it, so I feel kind of weird and icky about it.
Oh my God.
You know, everyone's got to kind of draw their own boundaries with that one when, you know, with couples that have that issue and are going through that.
Okay, I gotta ask.
It's confusing.
I have to ask you a question. Deja vu. Was there a deja vu in any of this?
I really don't know much about deja vu in terms of its relationship to dreaming, except that I definitely, everyone's had the experience before, and I'm sure, you know, that some of the times when we experience deja vu, that we're remembering the feeling of a dream. But other times, I think that what's actually happening is that we're in sort of a bit of a vision state. We've opened up a little portal to eternity, and we are in the moment, capital M, and everything is happening as it should, and it already has happened, and it always will happen, because we are essentially in an eternal spot. And, you know, there's people who have experienced deja vu underneath brain scanning devices, and there are actually physiological signatures for the deja vu experience.
Now, what about when how can somebody dream more? Like, you know, when you get older, it seems like you don't remember your dreams anyway, and so we say, oh, you know, we didn't dream tonight. But how can you have more dreams?
Yeah, the nice thing about dreams is that they come back to us when we want them to. Now, it's true that when we age, we lose some of our REM dreaming sleep, especially that last cycle that we had when we were younger. That's really nice when you sleep in late and you have that long series of dreams that last like 45 or longer, you know, in minutes. But the dreams come back very quickly if you make an intention to remember them and do a couple of key practices. This is something I teach on my website, dreamstudies.org. I actually have a free ebook called Enhance Your Dream Life that is sort of a how-to guide for remembering more dreams. And essentially, you know, speaking your dreams, journaling your dreams, discussing them, and then setting key intentions at key times, basically before sleep, as you wake up, and in the middle of the night. These are the kind of things that can really trigger that ability to remember our dreams. Because what happens is we're just moving too fast. And we wake up and we start thinking about everything that has to be done. But if you were to stop and not immediately jump out of bed when the alarm goes off, but hit the alarm, go back into bed, and preferably go back into the same position that you were in as you woke up, and spend 5 minutes just thinking about your dream, whatever you can recall, even if it's just a feeling. See if you can just catch the feeling of that dream. That's going to start building the connections between the waking world and the dreaming world. And it happens very quickly. I have people who tell me all the time that after they read my ebook that they start dreaming almost immediately.
Really? Now what about contacting your dead relatives? that seems to happen an awful lot as well, where you're actually carrying on conversations, or your loved one, your one that has passed on, and they'll come into your dream and they'll say, I just want to let you know I'm okay.
Dreams really can be part of the grief process, and they can be such a comfort after somebody has passed. And when you know that, and you can be open for that, and be open for feeling their presence in waking life as well, that can be really nice. But if you want to take it a step further, it's possible to incubate or call a dream about an ancestor or someone that you knew in waking life who's passed on, and they can come, and they will, of course, they'll come in their own sweet time sometimes.
Is that
they might not come in a way that you want them to, but this is a powerful practice.
But are they really connecting with you, or are you just dreaming that and thinking, oh, my relative is okay?
Well, that's totally a matter of personal belief, right? The important thing is how does it feel to you? If you have an experience of a dream in which you're in contact with this person, and it really feels like them, and your soul feels refreshed, and you feel like you've made a connection, for me, that's good enough,
What about psychic dreams?
Yeah, I didn't really used to believe in psychic dreams, and then annoyingly I started having them.
Oh, you're having psychic dreams? Tell me.
Really random and not very not very seemingly important. But yeah, I think the more the more that you research and write your dreams down and kind of really pay attention to them, these sort of occurrences will start happening and come out of the woodwork. And and some people don't believe in them, and they think that it's some kind of random, whatever. For those people, I just think too bad, because I've had some experiences that were just uncanny.
But Ryan, what is a psychic dream? What is
what is a psychic experience? Knowing something that getting some information that you couldn't have gotten by rational means, right? So whether this be cognition from the future, or it be some sort of telepathy where you're getting information from somebody who is alive or who is passed on, it's about some kind of information, and then finding that it has a doubling where it occurs again in waking life. All dreams, I think, have a little bit of these elements in them. I don't think there's such a thing as this is a psychic dream and this wasn't. I think that rather that when we're dreaming, we're in a very creative, open space, and that sometimes information comes through us, and we don't know where this information comes from, and we don't know what of it is actually from the outside, and what of it is us just processing what happened to us yesterday, and what of it is, from the movie we watched last night. But if you write these things down, you'll get a feel for your own dream patterns, and what's normal and what kind of starts to stand out will become obvious to you as you see your own style of dreaming.
So then, what is the best way to end a nightmare?
To end a nightmare? Well, I can tell you the best way, but it's the hardest way too. And this is something that we all struggle with. But for me, if you can be compassionate in the moment and face what is attacking you, then the nightmare can shift and transform. But this isn't always possible. But the good thing is about nightmares is that if you don't succeed, then not to worry, because it'll come back. If it's a good nightmare and it's really trying to tell you something important, a nightmare is a dream that's really trying to get your attention. Something is wrong. Something needs to be consciously noted. Something is definitely beyond, needs to be recognized and shared. And I think sharing the nightmare is actually a very important piece of it, not keeping it within you. about children's dreams telling adults when the Maoist party was going to come and attack their village. And these dreaming children warned them, and the families that listened to their children survived.
Oh, really?
And so sometimes these nightmares can have collective or sort of social significance. Something to think about, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, some nightmares are just about our own personal anxieties, and sometimes we're rehashing things from the past that definitely need to be dealt with. If anybody is having nightmares repetitively, and I mean repetitively, I mean nightmares every night for 2 weeks or so, it's really recommended that you see a professional, because talking to a counselor can really help with this process. And depending on your coverage and whatnot, you can bump up to psychiatry, and there's even pharmaceutical ways of dealing with really traumatic nightmares. I mean, this is the case, I think, when people go through really traumatic things, rape and as well as things like earthquakes and things like that. But for those nightmares that come sporadically, that aren't, I would say, trauma-induced, they're trying to say something about what's happening with you in your life right now, and they have significance that might be beyond your personal ego. So it's always good to have somebody to talk to with these things, or at least to express the nightmare, to get it out of your psyche, get it down on paper, make some art from it, transform it.
Now, what about aliens? What about aliens coming to you in your dreams, where people think that, oh my God, or being abducted by aliens? Could that really happen in your dream?
Well, gosh, people definitely have those dream experiences, and then, but I think the crux of the matter is that people who have abduction experiences at night, and they say that it's not a dream. I think that they should be respected, and that their experience is valid, even though I might not agree with the interpretation of their experience. And by that I mean that often, just like in ghost encounters, I think a lot of alien abduction tales and experiences are happening in that hypnagogic hallucination state, in which, because often if you look at the narratives, they are often sleep paralysis narratives, in which you're held down, someone comes into the room, they have a certain shape, a certain look to them, anally probing occurs, and then sometimes you're taken away to another location, you wake up, you lose consciousness, you're in another location. It's hyper-realistic. This is something that is true with all sleep paralysis experiences. It's hyper-realistic. It's realer than real. You can't just reality test it and say this is a dream. You can't wake up from it. You're actually, it is quite vivid. I say, well, people have all kinds of abduction experiences that don't happen at night, and I'm certainly not trying to say that all alien abduction experiences are happening during a dream state, but that subset at night, I think it's fair to say that they do. Especially if you start looking at some of the mythology, the mythology of fairies, from Europe, for instance. Fairies, were not so, before Tinkerbell, they were a little more ominous. If you look at the myths, they come into the bedroom, they paralyze their victim with elf shot, as it's called. There's all kinds of different mythological terms for this. They paralyze their victim. Sometimes they sexually molest them. Sometimes they just take them to fairyland. And
they take them to fairyland?
Yeah, you're abducted into fairyland. This is it was used to describe how young children died, which maybe today we would call the SIDS or what have you. But when children leave or die in their sleep, young children at night, they say that the fairies got them.
Oh, really? Oh.
And so, there's all kinds of interesting explanations.
No, but I know about it.
Well, I mean, Whitley Strieber, brilliant, you know. And if you look at his first book and his narrative experience, it sounds a lot like the thing that I have, which would be sleep paralysis. Now, I'm not saying that all of his experiences, because he really kind of goes into a whole bunch of different things with his other books. But his first accounts from communion, you know, it's not just an alien gray that comes into his room. It's a little gnome-like creature that's like 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's a gnome.
Yeah.
It's a very little creature. And, you know, so there's so many cultures in Germany, Norway, there's so many different accounts of the little people, the gnomes, the night elves, the dark elves that come into the night and do exactly what he describes in his book.
Now, what about people that are in a coma? Do they dream?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You faded out
Oh,
on me.
I'm sorry. What about people that are in comas, in a coma? Can they dream?
I'm not really up with coma research, although there are some more people who think that the coma state, that there is self-awareness in some of those cases. And I think this is especially coming into play when with the awareness during anesthesia. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Well, it's terrible. There's, you know, when you chemically induce a coma, which is, or you know, use an anesthesia to perform a surgery, some people wake up in the anesthesia and they are completely aware, but they cannot communicate that they're aware. They can't move a muscle, and they experience pain as they go through their surgery. It's supposedly one of the most traumatic things that can happen to you. You know, and this happens all the time. It's just a certain reaction that happens some of the time during anesthesia.
Oh my God, I never heard of that.
So what's interesting is like, well, what's going on? What's going on? What does that look like, you know, in terms of their brain activity? We really don't know, because people aren't usually strapped to it with the EEG meters when they're going for heart surgery and whatnot. But the fact that it happens there does make you wonder about, you know, chemically induced coma for one thing, at the end of the lifespan, which is often used with people who are suffering from, you know, cancer and other kinds of, you know, long drawn-out diseases, but also about other kinds of, you know, coma. It's definitely an open question, but I'm not an expert on that, you know, at all.
Wow. Now, what about leaving your body? Astral projection, right? You know, leaving your body. How does that happen? How can you leave your body and then fly off somewhere and go into another location? And I believe that people really see these other locations. They can go, or can they plan where they want to go, or does this just happen?
Well, you know, people have been doing this for thousands of years. It's you know, one of the tenets of dream shamanism is being able to produce trances and go into dreams, and today we call them lucid dreams, where they go out of body and have experiences, and then there's out of body that happens spontaneously. And so, you know, it's physiologically, it's real. We know it's real. Sleep paralysis can bring about the experience of out of body very easily. In fact, it's probably the easiest way to go about it. Is, you know, essentially setting up a couple of things like disrupting your sleep pattern, waking up in the middle of the night, doing a little bit of reading or meditation, then going to bed with slightly inclining your body, and then doing a little bit of visualization as you go back to sleep, and sort of pulling yourself at the right moment when you're sort of in a stage 1 sleep, or that hypnagogic state. You can create the out-of-body experience. Now, is it real? I think, again, different people have different perspectives. It's a belief system thing. I personally think that most of the time when we do out of body, it's more or less inside our own psyche. But if you look at some of the stuff that these remote viewing masters, remote viewing is what it's called in the military. Joseph, I think, what's his name, McNoble, Dale Graff, they've written books about this stuff, about Stargate, the programs that are now declassified from the U.S. military that successfully had remote viewing programs for years, and supposedly they're now defunct, but who knows if that's really true or not. They would go into light trances, or what we would call, a meditation, from a sitting position or from a laying position. It's always very peculiar to the individual, like their way of doing it. Some people can do it better if they get absolutely trashed. And then when they're in a hangover state, they have the out-of-body experience. Other people can do it quite clearly without any kinds of substances. And they brought back information. And you can read about these things. A book I really recommend is Remote Viewing Secrets. Brilliant stuff. I've never had the experience myself of an out-of-body in which I brought back something I didn't know. I do experience it, but I think maybe this has to do with my own intentions. When I experience an out-of-body in my own kind of paradigm, I'm more interested in just meditating and being in the space. And for instance, if I float outside of my perceptual body, I'm more likely to melt through a wall or through the floor and enter a void-like space and sort of just see what happens from there. I don't have the intention of investigating, my room or flying outside of my house or going anywhere. But this is what shaman do. This is exactly what shaman do.
Wow. So, we have a live chat room. Now, for the chat room, do you have any questions for Ryan? We're on a little delay. Anybody have any questions for Ryan? You guys said you had lots of them, so what are they, Huns? What are your questions?
Oh, I see the chat room now.
Okay, you're in there. Oh, Ryan can see the chat room, so go ahead and type your questions. Oh, dreaming about past lives. Can you dream about your past lives?
If you think that you have past life experiences, then yeah, I think so. I've had a few experiences myself that I've wondered if they might be fragments of another time, another life, or maybe I'm picking up on somebody's life from another time, and that kind of non-dual or non-local information. I mean, was I this person or not? I don't know. I go back and forth on that personally in my belief system all the time. But the thing about dreams and lucid dreams is that if you have a strong intention that you want to see something or do something, you can make that plan and you can investigate it. And so if you're interested in past lives, and you sort of have an intuition about the area that you want to investigate, then, set your intentions at night, do your readings during the day, be very specific about the information that you kind of want, and pose questions to the dream. Even write the dream questions down before you go to sleep. Something I really would like to find information about, or can you, tell me more about this. And sometimes you can get little pieces. Now, if you're interested in this topic, Robert Moss would be the dream author that I would encourage people to read, because while he doesn't always talk about past lives, he really talks about a lot of supernatural aspects of dreams and lucid dreams.
Oh God, the questions are just flying by here. What about, has anybody ever done any research on DMT. I don't know what DMT is.
Okay, yeah, I mean, DMT in relationship to dreams, I'm trying to find the question.
Oh, it was sent to me privately.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, the theory with DMT, as it relates to dreams, is it possible that our own endogenous DMT, which is a hallucinogenic substance that our brain apparently produces, apparently comes out of the pineal gland, and it's possible that the pineal gland can release DMT, and this is what creates certain kinds of mystical experiences without drugs. And then DMT, can be taken as a drug, and it's also like an ayahuasca brews and whatnot. So the connection to that with dreams is can you have a dream in which you release your own DMT? And it's a hypothesis. It's a hypothesis that might never be answered because we don't really know about endogenous DMT yet. Rick Strassman's book is called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. That's what Master T just put up there. Really good book. And he did a documentary on it as well that's really watchable and very good. And it might even be on Netflix, actually. Charles Tart in the 1970s, he's one of these original altered states guys. He talked about how it's possible to have a dream and then try to experience a certain kind of consciousness within that dream. So say, for instance, you want to experience what an LSD trip in the dream. You could go into the dream and make that intention and go into a trip. And it's true, people can do this. You can feel drunk in the dream, you can feel high. All of these things are all neurological possibilities, especially if you've already experienced them, because kind of what you're tapping into there is the memories of that experience and sort of that constellation of selfhood and whatnot. So dreaming is a really awesome way to have a legal high if you wanted to think about it that way. It's kind of a strange way to think about it, but it is a way to go about it.
Now, Charlie sent me a message. He said, I have this question. What if you remember a dream in its entirety and in detail after having it a few months ago? Well, that's a good memory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. Some dreams, they just last forever. They're actually extraordinary experiences that we remember our entire life. That's what we would call a big dream. And everybody has probably a handful of big dreams. And if you're just to ask yourself or ask somebody, what's your most memorable dream? What you remember might change from month to month or even day by day. But there really are a few of those pinnacle experiences of life, I think. Dreams can have some of our most ecstatic moments. We've really focused on the dark side of dreams, right? We've been talking about how negative dreams can be.
Right.
But obviously, dreams do have, can be extraordinarily ecstatic, and they're rare, and that was kind of makes them more special, than anything. And I remember kind of tying it into someone had asked about, can you see angels in dreams? Or,
right.
And this is actually one of the things that came out of my sleep paralysis research that was kind of surprising is that that people do experience angel visitations that are positive and that bring light and healing in that sleep paralysis nightmare state. And there's even people who, at first they experience the dark shadow figure, but they have a sense of trust and a sense of patience, and that figure shifts into a figure of light. I really think that that angels do come to us in these experiences. That these are they're not just wishful thinking or stories that because our grandmothers told us this when we were little that we just recreate. I think there's something that's bigger than that we experience in these vision states.
There's another question in the chat room by Legends. Question, what if a dream happens over and over your whole life?
That's great. Well, there's, I want to ask a follow-up question, but the main thing is that repetitive slightly, what a repetitive dream is doing is it's showing a pattern of thinking or a pattern of behavior or some kind of archetypal myth that you as the dreamer are continuously playing out. And, some repetitive dreams are terrible and they're nightmares. Some of them are boring. For instance, for me, I have a repetitive high school dream. I dream about high school way too much. I was just talking to somebody who has a repetitive high school dream of being at their locker and trying to remember their locker.
Oh my God. I've had that. What is... God, that is so... panicky not to know your locker number. That's horrible. Oh my.
I mean, what these repetitive dreams do is they're showing us a place that we're stuck. They're showing us a place that we need to move beyond, and they can be a really good way to get into lucid dreaming if you're not into it. If you've never had a lucid dream before, you can tell yourself and teach yourself, the next time I'm in front of my high school locker and I can't remember my combination, I'm dreaming. And just teach yourself this. Remind yourself of this when you're awake. Remind yourself before you go to bed. Journal your intention. This is what they call a dream sign. And it's one of the most effective ones because it'll come up on its own accord because you're already repetitively dreaming about it. But now the image comes up, the experience happens, and you have a habit of thinking that comes with it. Oh, this is a dream. And so when you are self-aware in that dream, you can then look at the situation in a new light. You can make new choices, right? Because often in repetitive dreams, especially scary ones or anxious ones, we tend to act from a kind of closed-off space, or we run away, or we're acting from our small place. Well, when you're lucid, you can be more courageous, or you can do something completely different or off the wall, or you can laugh, or hug your attacker, or you can really just kind of trip up the narrative, and that is the kind of creative response that kind of breaks us into new realms.
I have another question in chat. Rhino, he wants to know, can you control your dreams?
So, dream control is something that people associate with lucid dreaming all the time. And, yeah, it's possible. Now the but to that is how much do you want to control your dreams and why? Complete dream control, very few people can do it, nor would I personally wouldn't want to do that. But there are people who do it. If you look at lucid dreaming forums, you can find these people. Then they have almost like a movie-like director ability in their dreams, in which they can just literally bring up objects, just like Inception, the movie Inception. Mm-hmm. They can make things happen all the time. Now, even though with this kind of complete dream control, there's always a reaction to what happens. And there's always things that come up that we don't intend, and the dream always responds with something spontaneous, no matter how much you try to control something. And I would, recommend that people, if they're into dream control or interested in that, to think of it as posing a question in the dream, or making a push, right? Mm-hmm. And then waiting for the reaction, and kind of playing with the dream in a sense that it's a dance. You're in a relationship with the dream. When we try to control our dreams too much, gets us back into the realm of nightmares, because when you try to repress something or push something down, the dream will bring it back up in another form. Sometimes immediately, and other times it'll come up in a different dream in a more sort of scary way. And so complete dream control, for me, isn't something that I would really recommend. Okay. Even if you could do it.
Ryan, thank you so much for being a guest on the show tonight. It was such a pleasure to have you, and such great information. Would you give everybody your website, please, so they can go and check it?
A lot of these questions, a lot of questions, for instance, like using different kinds of herbs for lucid dreaming, and psychic dreams, and all this other stuff I'm seeing on this thing. I've written about this on my website, which is dreamstudies.org. And I've got a free ebook that you can download as well that talks about getting more into dream work. And I also have some products for sale about advanced lucid dreaming practices and my sleep paralysis work as well. You can find on my website, dreamstudies.org.
Okay, Ryan, thank you again so much. Everybody in chat, I want to say good night and thank you for coming to the show tonight and your great questions. And I will see you on Saturday for another live show. Ryan, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. Okay, thank you. Good night.